From the files of the Metropolitan Crime Analysis Bureau, this is MCAB, I'm Detective Ethan Cole. Every case begins with a moment, a single life-altering event that sends ripples through time. Today's case, Echoes of a Single Shot, starts with a tragedy that tore a hero apart. Detective Miller, a good cop, one of the best. But his world crumbled during a rescue operation, a chaotic firefight, a split-second decision, and a bullet from his partner's gun. That's the official story. A friendly fire incident that cost Miller the one thing he couldn't live without, his daughter, Sarah. The department was shattered. But no one was more broken than Miller. He handed in his badge, took a leave of absence, and vanished into his grief. For him, the case was closed, sealed by an unbearable loss. But the echo of that single shot was far from over. In fact, it was just the beginning. For 92 days, Miller ceased to exist. He didn't answer his phone. He didn't open his door. His world shrank to the four walls of his small apartment, a space haunted by memories. Photos of Sarah, her school drawings, a half-finished board game on the coffee table. Each object was a fresh wound. His life became a rotation of sleepless nights and hollow days, the silence broken only by the hum of the refrigerator. He was a ghost in his own life, completely unaware that the real ghost was just beginning to make his move. 3 months pass. The Miami heat beats down, and the city moves on. But the quiet is broken on a Tuesday afternoon, high above the streets on the Metrorail. A woman named Elena is on her way home, looking out the window when the glass beside her shatters. She collapses, bleeding. Panic erupts. The Miami PD, led by Captain Davis, descends on the scene. They expect to find a shooter on the train, or perhaps on a nearby rooftop. But there's nothing, no shell casing, no witnesses who saw a gunman, just a clean single point of entry. Ballistics comes back with a chilling report. The shot was fired from over 1,000 yards away. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was the work of a highly skilled ghost-like sniper. The investigation hits a dead end almost immediately. How do you catch a phantom? The answer comes from 100 miles up the coast. A detective in Tampa reaches out. They have a similar case. A businessman named Robert, shot in his high-rise office. Same impossible distance, same lack of evidence. But they had one thing we didn't: a recovered slug. When our forensics team matched the ballistics, the connection was undeniable. Both Elena and Robert were targeted by the same person, using the same incredibly rare high-caliber sniper rifle. This wasn't just a pattern, it was a declaration. The sniper wasn't just killing, they were hunting. And the victims on the surface had absolutely nothing in common. One was a civilian with a quiet life, the other a high-powered executive. The only link was the impossible bullet that connected them. With the cases officially linked, the media descended. They dubbed the killer the Metrorail Phantom, and fear began to grip the city. Public pressure on the Bureau was immense. Captain Davis held daily press briefings, his face a mask of strained composure, promising swift justice while his detectives chased shadows. They pursued every lead, no matter how thin. They questioned known arms dealers, interviewed military veterans with sniper training, and put every long-range rifle owner in the state under a microscope. But the ghost left no trail. It was like hunting a whisper in a hurricane. Weeks turned into a month. The pressure mounted. Captain Davis had his entire department digging, searching for any thread, any connection between Elena and Robert. They combed through phone records, financials, social circles. Nothing. It was like trying to connect two strangers from opposite ends of the earth. The break came from the youngest detective on the squad, a tech specialist who decided to look beyond the physical world. He found it buried deep in their digital lives. A single obscure mobile game, Team Shooter. Both Elena and Robert were avid players. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot we had. The team dove into the game's servers, tracking player interactions, chat logs, looking for anyone who connected with both our victims. They found him. A player with no name, just a string of numbers. An account that went dark the day after the second shooting, and more importantly, an IP address. It was time to pay this ghost a visit. While the tactical team prepared for the raid, our profilers worked to build a picture of our suspect from his digital footprint. In the game, he was ruthlessly efficient, a master of strategy and long-range engagements. His chat logs were devoid of personal information, all business focused on tactics. He was patient, methodical, and disciplined. He wasn't just playing a game, he was training. The profile suggested a man with military experience, someone who saw the world as a battlefield and civilians as assets or targets. This wasn't just about violence, it was about control. The game was his recruitment ground, his training simulator, and his psychological playground. The IP address led to a derelict garage in an industrial wasteland on the edge of the city. Rusting metal, shattered windows, the smell of decay. It was the perfect place for a ghost to hide. The team, including Miller's old partner, Detective Evans, geared up for a high-risk raid. They expected a sniper's nest, a firefight. They moved in silently, breaching the door under the cover of darkness. The inside was sparse. A cot, some empty food containers, and a high-end computer terminal. But no sniper, no weapons. The place felt abandoned. Evans and his team swept the building, their frustration growing with every empty room. It felt like another dead end. Until one of them noticed a locked door at the back of the garage. It was reinforced. They brought out the ram, 1 hit, 2 hits. On the third, the lock shattered, and the door swung open into darkness. What they found inside wasn't a weapons cache or a tactical setup. It was a makeshift cell. And huddled in the corner was a prisoner. A young woman, terrified but alive. As she looked up into the beam of the flashlight, a cold shock ran through the entire team. It was impossible, but there she was, Detective Miller's daughter, Sarah. She was alive. Captain Davis made the call himself, a call to a man who had cut himself off from the world, a man lost in a nightmare. When Detective Miller arrived, the reunion was something no one on that scene will ever forget. The broken man who walked in was made whole again in an instant. His daughter wasn't dead. The nightmare he had been living for 3 months was a lie. The truth began to unravel, and it was more twisted than anyone could have imagined. Sarah explained that during the chaos of that initial rescue operation, she was never hit. She was grabbed, drugged, and pulled away. The body found at the scene, the one Miller had identified as his daughter, wasn't her. It was another victim, placed there to create the perfect illusion. Then Detective Evans revealed something he'd kept to himself. The bullet that had struck him in the leg during that same operation. It hadn't come from Miller's pistol. Forensics had confirmed it. It was from a sniper's rifle. The entire event, the botched rescue, the tragic death, Miller's breakdown, it had all been a setup. A meticulously planned stage play designed to take Miller off the board. The sniper was no longer just a shooter. He was a master manipulator. We gave him a name. The Ghost. His profile came together piece by piece. Former Special Forces, discharged under questionable circumstances, an expert in long-range ballistics and psychological warfare. He held a deep burning grudge against law enforcement. And the shootings of Elena and Robert? They weren't random at all. The Ghost had targeted them for their skills. Elena was an amateur explosives expert, a fact she foolishly shared in the game's chat logs. The Ghost used her to learn everything he needed about building sophisticated bombs. Robert was a chemical supply manager with access to volatile compounds. The shootings weren't the main event. They were practice and procurement. The Ghost wasn't just killing people, he was gathering resources for his real plan. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The kidnapping, the frame-up, the targeted killings. It was all leading to something bigger. The team raced against the clock, trying to figure out his endgame. They found it in a decrypted file on the computer in the garage. A blueprint. The target was a high-profile memorial event for fallen officers, scheduled in 2 days. The guest of honour, the keynote speaker, was Captain Davis. It was the perfect stage for the Ghost's final act. A direct attack on the heart of the Miami PD, broadcast live for the world to see. He wasn't just planning an assassination, he was planning a massacre. The day of the memorial arrived. The venue was a large open-air plaza filled with officers, families and dignitaries. Undercover units, including a reinstated Detective Miller, moved through the crowd, eyes scanning for any threat. They knew the Ghost was there. Then an officer noticed something strange about the memorial candles lining the stage. They were heavier than they should be. The bomb squad moved in. Inside each candle was a sophisticated, wirelessly triggered explosive device. A wave of silent panic swept through the command post. They had to find and disarm every bomb without alerting the crowd or the trigger man. It was a heart-stopping race against time, disarming one device after another as the ceremony began. As the last bomb was being disarmed, Miller spotted him, a man dressed as an event technician, his hand hovering over a detonator in his pocket. Miller and Evans moved in together. The Ghost didn't put up a fight, he just smiled. His capture was part of the plan. In interrogation, the final piece of the puzzle fell into place. His motive, his brother, also a police officer, had been killed years ago during a mission. The officer leading that mission, the one he claimed abandoned his brother, was Detective Evans. The entire elaborate, horrifying scheme, the kidnapping, the frame-up, the terror plot, it was all a twisted, long-game revenge plot against one man. He wanted to destroy Evans's career, his life, and the department he served. In the end, the echoes of a single shot weren't about a tragic accident. They were the first sounds of a meticulously crafted war, born from a lie and fueled by vengeance. A war that nearly consumed one of our best detectives and threatened to bring the city to its knees. But in the silence that followed, a family was made whole again, and a ghost was finally put to rest. Join us next time for another case from the files of the Metropolitan Crime Analysis Bureau.